All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's EZ Facility webinar. Today is the part 2 discussion from our, continuing on from our last week's discussion last Thursday. Before we go any further, though, just for everyone who's currently in here, if you could all just give, raise your hand for me. I just want to make sure everybody can hear me on the webinar. All right, perfect. Thank you, everyone there. All right, so we're just going to wait about just another minute or two. Just want to make sure that everyone else that's trying to jump on has a few more extra moments to jump in. So we'll give it about another minute here and then we'll jump right in. All right, so we'll get started here. So once again, everyone, like I said, this is the part 2 of our 2-part discussion on how to better utilize self-service for your facility, especially during these times. So today, our main focus will be on self-service. We'll be taking you guys through some of the back-end section, how you set up certain requirements and controlling features to make sure that what you are making sure goes through accordingly at the front desk is also followed through on self-service as much as possible. So we'll go through some features like that. We'll then go into self-service, we'll log in, we'll make some test bookings, we'll look around there, and we'll go through as many features as we can. As per usual, feel free to put your questions in. We will certainly leave some time for questions towards the end of the call as well. All right, so also, for those of you, I'll say this one last thing here. For those of you who were not able to join us last week, if you head over to our website, ezfacility.com, you then go to our resources tab, you'll see towards the right side of the page at the top. You can then get the list and view all of the recorded webinars that we have there from the past. We've been doing these for a few weeks now, so feel free to jump in there and look around as well. All right, so the first step with self-service, of course, to understand anything there, is self-service can be used for most of the things in here. Can be used to buy a membership, can be used to book a rental or book themselves into a training or a class. Could also simply just be used for a client to go there and maybe just update their client profile, simple as that. So to really control all of that, if we're in administration here, we're heading down towards the bottom left, we'll go into self-service, and then right up here we go into self-service preferences. All right, so in self-service preferences, right, this top section here, which is basically the enable section for self-service, this is where a lot of our requirements and a lot of the controls that we can implement here, this is where they're all resting, where we can all access them as well. So first step here for anything, of course, enable the site so it can be activated and utilized. After that, then have here where it's saying allow users to book sessions online. And underneath that, we have a link to go inside further. So if you're allowing your clients to book through self-service, simply check off this box on the left. Right in here, click on the link. And now in here, we are able to go through and set up requirements and certain features that will go into effect. So when a client goes to book something on self-service, they have to abide by these rules, right? Now, everything we're going through here, right? When I say a session, as I'm sure some of you or most of you are aware of, that's referring to a reservation type. So these session settings solely affect the reservation types here. So anything you have in as a reservation type is what will be affected in these settings here, right? So For example, the first one here is saying, assuming there is still space available and the client meets requirements for membership package type, should they be allowed to see a time slot in a list and book themselves in? Simply asking you, are you allowing your clients to look on self-service and book themselves into sessions? So we have an allowed booking here. If you're maybe using self-service to show people what you have but not allow them to book there, then lists only do not book, so they can see but they can't book online. And then after that, we have do not list, meaning nobody can book anything. So those are your three options. We'll be going with allowed booking here for this example. Then underneath that, default requirements. So in here is something asking us, based off the rules and the guidelines of your facility, what are you saying that is required for the clients to book into a session on the calendar? So it's saying here the first option, client must have an active paid to date membership. If I check that off, that means the only way a client can book into a session is if they have a membership that is not only active, but is paid to date, meaning they're not behind on any payments, everything is fully paid off, there are no open invoices. So that's one feature. Now, I would say most of the time, I see this checkbox go back and forth, once again, just depending on how the facility is running the operations there. The one that is mostly checked off is the second one. The package used to book must be paid to date. So very important here, on the schedule in-house, you don't necessarily have to book someone with a package plan. Most of you will, of course, make sure they pay, but you can mark someone as reserved, for example. On self-service, the only way they can book themselves into a session is with a package plan. They must have a package plan in order to book themselves into a session. So this one here is saying the package used to book must be paid to date. You would check that off to not only ensure they're using a package plan, but to make sure that, just like the membership, there's nothing, no outstanding balances or no open invoices relating to that. So that's what we normally see. I know a lot of you right now may be using self-service just to have clients book themselves on the calendar, but not necessarily pay. You just want to keep track of how many people are at the facility every hour. If that's the case, then leave this unchecked because you're most likely giving them a free package to book in with, so they can then just block themselves off every hour there at the facility. So most of the time, you'll mostly check one of these off here, but obviously it may vary, especially what's going on nowadays. All right. Then below that, we have down here visible range. So simple question here, how far into the future should sessions be shown for self-service? How far into the future are you allowing your clients to see onto the calendar? So self-service can go as far out as 1 year. That's the maximum length on that. Don't have to put it to that. I see a lot of people maybe just at first go maybe 1 to 2 months out, and then as you open up more and as more clients go there, maybe you'll expand that down the road. All right, but beyond that point, this just means I can see 2 months out. I can book 2 months out into the future on the calendar in self-service. Now, the other one here is talking about Member Me Plus. So some of you may have this, some of you may not. The Member Me Plus is the mobile phone application. It does come with a schedule. The main thing with Member Me Plus, you can only book onto that schedule there. You cannot buy or purchase anything directly through that application. All the purchases online must go through the self-service website portal, right? But same question with Member Me Plus, this can only go out 1 month into the future. So any of you that are using it, certainly feel free to set that up there as well. Hide full sessions. This is mainly for Member Me Plus. It's just simply saying if you have a fully booked session on the calendar, it's asking you, do you want that to be shown to your clients at all times? Or would you rather that be hidden? And then if someone does drop out, maybe the next person on the wait list or just someone else that goes to self-service, they see a spot is available, can then book themselves in. I usually tell my clients I work with, if you're utilizing a wait list, then you're better off showing this here, because if they want to put themselves on the wait list, they need to simply be able to see what they can put themselves onto a wait list for. Otherwise, you can hide it or show it, very subjective, once again, based off the operations of the facility. All right. Okay, then next thing underneath that down here is what we call default cutoff times. So when a client goes up to you at the front desk and they say, hey, I want to go ahead and book myself into this session right now, right? No problem, you can do that right away. On self-service, what you're able to do here, it's saying here, clients may book into a slot up to how much time before it starts. So essentially, how much of a notice do you need from the client before they can book themselves to a session through self-service? So this means that I need to give you 1 day's notice or 24 hours notice before I can book into something there. Underneath it here, it's talking about a cancellation. So where the client has already booked themselves into something, but now they need to cancel their reservation, they need to cancel their booking. So they're both set for 1 day beforehand. If I leave this blank, that means that the clients are not able to cancel a booking on their own. They must go to you or at least someone at the front desk and must cancel the booking in-house or maybe call over the phone, whatever the case might be. So you have some features here. Keep in mind, this is only for self-service. Now, once again, that's why I said before, if the client wants to book into something that's taking place in maybe an hour, but we're well within 24 hours, if they go to the front desk and you were okay to book them in, totally up to you, that's your call. These are only settings for self-service, only for online bookings. All right. Next thing down here is allow post-build packages. A post-build package would be if you gave somebody a 5-pack of sessions to use, but they're not paying you for the sessions before they use them. They're paying you for the sessions after they've already built into them. So you have that option here. Once again, very subjective. Most clients I speak with are always going to have clients pay beforehand. So if you're not going to have clients pay after the fact, then just leave this minimized, leave that left alone there. All right. Then here we have default adjacent booking restriction. So what this would do here is, for example, if right now it's 1 p.m. Eastern time, right? We're in the one o'clock hour here. So if you had something on the calendar, let's say going from 2 to 3 o'clock, right? And I have this setting turned on here, that means I can't book into the session right now from 1 to 2. I can only book into the session from 2 to 3 o'clock, right? It only allows the clients to book into adjacent time slots just simply based off the hour they're looking at here. All right. So you have that option there. I feel most clients don't usually set that up. They want to make sure that clients can see and book into all the options they have. But once again, feel free to go through that, set that up if you would need it. All right. Then down here, last thing is the wait list. So if I enable the wait list here, that means that whether we're showing a full session or not, somebody can put themselves on the wait list when it's fully booked up, right? Down here, the real question is the auto book. Are you going to allow the system to auto book the client in? Now, if down here, if we enable the auto book feature, that means that when somebody drops out, whomever the next person or whomever the first person is on the wait list, they will be automatically booked in. They will, yes, be sent then a notification by email or by a text message, whatever they have entered in on their account. If we disable this, that means they will not be automatically booked in, and they would just simply have to keep going back and forth checking self-service essentially just to see if that spot has become available yet. If it has, they could then just book themselves in right from there. All right, so once again, feel free to go either route. I'm going to leave this unenabled for now. All right, so we'll save this page down here. So once again, these are all the default settings for our reservation types, right? So if we jump back out here, those are for the sessions, right? Now, before I go further here, in your reservation types list, like we said, all those are default, right? However, like we offer yoga and personal training and group training, maybe the notice for a book you need for yoga is 24 hours, but for a personal training, maybe it needs to be 48 hours, for example. So you can always differentiate each and every one of these reservation types individually. So for example, I could go to group training here in my reservation types list. Towards the right side, go to the green wrench. And in here, any modifications I make will only affect this reservation, only affect group training. So I could change the default availability. I can modify the cutoff times here. Maybe this should be 48 hours instead, we can change that. Requirements, maybe for this they need a membership, or maybe for this they need a package plan, so you can differentiate on that as well. All right, and beyond that, down here, allowed package types. So some of you also may additionally have specific, essentially packages for each reservation, right? Have a package plan for group training, you then have a package plan for yoga specifically. So in this drop down here, if I click on this, I could, for example, go to group training here, right? And what this is essentially doing, the only package plan that could be used to be able to book into group training is a group training package plan. So this is to make sure that clients don't get a yoga package plan that would cost them less to book into a group training, making sure everybody uses the right package plans, that everybody uses the correct pricing in the system. So you have options like that. You can go back and forth with all these options, whatever the reservation types are that you have entered in here as well. All right, so we have that there. Now the next thing here is for those of you doing rentals, we have rentals here. So with the rentals, there are not as many settings here as there normally would be for the sessions comparatively. So in here, there's just two questions, right? Visible range, somebody asking you how far out into the future can we see on the calendar? So we have 30 days here. All right, so I can see 30 days out into the future on the calendar to book myself in for a rental. Down here, if you wanted to extend the start date of the search, you could do that here. For example, if I check this on here, this is telling me that I can now extend my start date 7 days out into the future, meaning that I could start my 30-day search here on June 11th, or I could even go as far as to June 18th and then look 30 days out from there. So if you ever need to extend how far they can see to book something on the calendar for a rental, that's how you would modify that there. Extend the start date of the search and then tell them that they could look 30 days out, or maybe it's 7 or 14 days out, whatever the case might be. So you can extend it technically there. Then down here, default cutoff times. So when a client goes to book a rental, they'll choose their rate, they'll choose the rental type, they will choose maybe the venue they're using, whether it's a court or a field, for example. But essentially, when they have chosen everything for the rental, their day and time, the rental type, the rate, the venue, when they're in the shopping cart, as of right now, they are put on a 5-minute timer. That is done to make sure the client doesn't hold on to that forever. We don't want them to hold on to that for a day and then nobody else can book that. That could maybe wants to book it and pay for it right then and there. So if they go and they book it, if it goes past 5 minutes, then it will delete it. They'll have to start over again and either book that same thing or book something else instead. So can't put a time in here. This can go as far out as to, I believe, 30 minutes. And you have a seconds feature if you would ever need that as well. All right, so you have those options here. Now, much like I showed you for the sessions, how you can set up specific session settings for each reservation type. If you go out to administration, right, down here on the right side in accounts, there'll be a rental type. So every rental type is also set up one by one individually for self-service. For example, if I go to a field rental, over towards the right side here, I have another green wrench, and I have specific settings in here. Now, this is a little bit different compared to the sessions, for example, as you need to go through all of these rentals to make them available on self-service. In the rental settings back here, there's no auto default button I could check off to make sure that all the rentals are available. You need to go to each one of your rentals in self-service here and one by one go through saying, okay, we can allow them to book this on self-service. Allowed venues, just controlling what venues can they book with this rental type here, which in this case is field 1 and 2. And you can, of course, make further modifications on the left there. Down here, what's the rate associated with this? So this is a field rental, so I'm going to make sure that my field rental rate is associated with that there. All right. Down here, rentals must be paid in full. Most of you, I'm sure, will set it to that to make sure everybody pays you at once. If you allow partial payments for any reason, you can set that up down here. I'm just putting that there for now. So we're going to go through a different example in a little bit. So I'll need that there. Down here, rental cutoff times. Clients may rent a slot up to how much time before it starts. This is the same question we had before with the sessions. How much of a notice do you need before the client can book the rental? If I put maybe 1 hour here, you at least need a 1 hour notice before they can book something on the calendar. So that's that feature there. Then down here, you control how short of a time and then how long they can book the rental for. So I can rent this for a minimum of 1 hour. I could rent it for a maximum of 4 hours. So you have those options there. Definitely feel free to go through that. All right, then down here, if any of you have memberships and you're telling the clients that you must have a membership in order to book a rental, you can check off that box down there as well. So just be mindful with that. Some of the questions are the same with the rentals and the sessions, but you have to go through, at least for the rentals, have to go through each one by one here to make sure they're available on self-service. The sessions, you're able to do that, but you don't have to do that from there. All right, let's have that there. All right, so let's jump back here. Okay, so I'm gonna finish this section out here, then I'll address some of the questions I see in a moment there. All right, last few things in this top section, allow public registrations. Public registrations here, so actually let me jump back there. So if you check off this box here, that means that you are allowing brand new clients. You're allowing brand new clients to go to self-service, sign themselves up, they can register. Now, if we click on this here, at the moment, when they go to register, they will be sent an email. In that email, they'll click on a link where they have to go ahead and they have to fill out all of their client location, basic contact info before they can do anything. Just helping to ensure that you don't have a random John Doe signing up and that you don't know any of his information. You have no idea who that's going to be. This way you make sure you get all the client's info, and then they can go ahead and access self-service and all the amenities you allow to be appearing on there as well. All right, so this is one option. On the other hand, some of you might be saying you don't want the clients to do that. So if that's the case, and I'll show you this a little bit later, in a little bit actually, you could always uncheck this. Now, if we uncheck this, the only way the clients could be given access to self-service is that you or a staff member would have to invite the client, meaning they went to you at the front desk, or they just went to some staff member at the facility or at the location. They signed up with them, back up here in clients, and then you invite them to self-service. So there are 2 ways of doing that. We'll go through those in a little bit as well. All right, I'll leave this checked off for now though. Then down here, allowing public to view the self-service site. So go into this here, simply asking you when your clients click on the link for self-service, what is the first page that they are brought to? Do you want to show them the schedule first? Should you show them the login page first? Should they have to log in first before they can do anything? And then further down here, packages, memberships, rentals, registrations, video library. For those of you that may not know, registrations is for groups. That would typically be for any sort of leagues or tournaments you may have at the facility as well. A lot of clients usually ask me what I recommend. I usually say schedule as one option because you want to show them what you're offering and incentivize them on how to book in, and then just really incentivize them what you're showing or what you're offering there. Log in here, you want to make sure that they have to log in first before they can do really anything else at the facility as well. All right, so you have those options there. For any of you that offer coupons there, you can go ahead and enter in coupons. I just really say be careful with coupons, because with the coupons, you could name a coupon that's just for a membership plan, but then it could be used maybe for a package plan or a rental. So be careful with the coupons. I typically recommend those are set up in-house in the system. All right. Beyond that, you have some checkboxes down here for including membership plans or including package plans that start in the past. If you want to advertise membership plans or package plans that were used previously in the system, you could show those on self-service at any time. It would just to show people you have seasonally throughout the year. And then right down here, this is your URL link for self-service. So for those of you who have not used self-service yet, when you go in here, it's not going to have the name of your facility. It's going to have some numbers there. Take those out, put anything else in there. You can modify that at any time. All right, we put Empire Sport Fit, that's the name of this here. You can put whatever you want to there. Just make sure once you enter this in, go down to the bottom of this page and save it, as that is not an automatic save. So make sure you save that as well. All right. Okay, so I'm just gonna address a few of the questions we see here. Okay, okay, so if the session has a late cancel, does it still auto book the wait list, or does it have a cutoff as well? Okay, yeah, the way the wait list works is simply that when someone is taken out of the session, right, then someone else can book in. If they're marked as a late cancel, that's fine, but they have to actually cancel the session. They have to remove themselves from the session as well. On self-service, the clients can't mark an attendance status. They can simply book or cancel. So as long as they cancel, then the next person can be auto booked in. All right. Okay, can you cover equipment rentals? We're not going to go over equipment rentals today because this is mainly just for self-service. If you head over to our support center, though, we have plenty of articles, and I'm sure we have some videos on that as well. All right, also feel free to call support for any questions there. Okay, can we set an age limit to self-service registration to prevent minors from signing up? Okay, so great question. So at the moment, no, there's no way to prevent it. I will add this though to a feedback. That is something that's been brought up a few times just from people I have spoken to. So I will add that to the feedback, but at the moment, there really wouldn't be a set way to prevent that here. Okay, and then when you put sessions in the schedule and list them as listed, but no booking. Okay, so list only, do not book. Is there a way to turn on 1 week on at a time? Or do you have to go to each session and open it to booking? We try to have 1 month on our self-service calendar, but only release. Okay, so you would have to control that manually, right? You would have to, like, as you make those bookings, like you can set to list only, do not book, but as you make the bookings on the schedule up here, right, you would have to go as you make the booking there. Like if I book something here for Studio B, for example, and I put on, for example, group training here, you would have to go here, uncheck the default, and change that one session there to allow booking. So that would be a manual operation there. There wouldn't really be a way to automate that necessarily. All right, then I'm gonna go through one other question here, then we'll continue going forward. Okay, when a client books via self-service, will we get an email notification? Yes, that'll be one of the next things we go into, Lori, so we'll touch on that in a moment. And then Megan, what I mean is if someone cancels 10 minutes before a session, I don't want it to auto book the next on the wait list because they might not be able to get here in time. Is there a way to, okay, yeah, there's no way to set a cutoff time. I understand what you're saying. There's no way to set a cutoff time for that, but I will pass that forward as well. That's definitely a good piece of feedback there as well. Thank you for that. All right, so I'm gonna move forward here. We'll get to some more questions a little bit later on. Okay, so back down here in self-service, so further down here, email alerts. So there was just a question on this. So you can set up email alerts here. You completely control what you're notified about. You don't have to check everything off here, totally up to you. Really important thing here, down here below, it says additional emails, right? This can be a bit misleading. There's no set emails going to right now. You have to put in an email here for those emailers to be sent out to, whether that's your own. I know a lot of clients sometimes put in a generic email for the facility that everybody has access to, up to you, but you have to put an email in this field here in order for it, to be notified about those alerts there. All right. Beyond that, you have credit card settings down here. If I check off this box, I'm always forced forwarding, meaning I am always telling the client, when you go to pay for something, you have to enter something in here no matter what. The other option here is you leave this open, you leave it blank, and then the client, they can save it, but they will not be forced to at any time. So that's up to you there. If some of you are not taking any payments through self-service for any reason, then just hit remove credit card info section just to limit confusion on the user side. All right, so you have that there. Okay, then down here, user profile. A lot of you obviously client walks in, you enter their info on the clients list and you go through there and you fill in their info. The clients have their own version of that page on self-service. So you can control here what the clients are able to change, right? What are they able to change? Their basic info, content info, payment info, profile picture. You control that and what they can modify. The calendar on self-service is a literal monthly calendar. So you can leave it in a month view, but you can also change it to a week view. You can also change it to a, bear with me there. Nope, there we go. So you can also change it to a week view or a month view, day view, whatever you feel comfortable with. Clients can also change that for themselves as well. All right. Down here is a registration redirect setting. So this right here, if you put in, for example, most people put, I've seen the link to the EZF facility site. You can enter that in there, and as it tells you in this description here, after they complete their registration, they will be redirected to the site for EZF facility automatically after they register. So you have that option there to redirect them immediately. Down here, put in your social media accounts, and then further down here at the bottom is your menu. So on self-service, there will be a menu on the left side where the client can just go through and simply choose what they want to buy or what they want to book into, or what information they would like to access. So in here, menu configuration, just simply, are you showing them the invoices? What are they allowed to buy here? Can they look at their own schedule? Can they book sessions, reservation nights for themselves? Can they book a rental? Can they book themselves into a group? And are you simply showing them the video library? So you simply control here what they have access to and what they would not have access to. On self-service, this can be modified at any time. All right, so you have that there. So this is the preferences page. A lot of the bulk information for setting up self-service is initially in here. Beyond that, we also have self-service design on the left. So in here, simply where you put your logo in and you enter in your color there. If you having an issue putting in the color or the logo, feel free to call our support team. We are more than happy to help you out loading that up. All right, welcome message. This will be the first thing the clients see, not necessarily when they log in, but the first thing they see when they go to the self-service site. So every time they log in after they register, you can put anything in here. We have a link to our website and a link to where they can leave questions. Some people put in just verbiage there. It's a really good place to give them any information they should know about right away, as it's the first thing they see at the top of the page when they go in. All right. Down here, self-service custom text. So this is where you can change some terminology. Now, right now, if they go to book a session, like a yoga, for example, or group training, they will click on what's called book sessions. If they go to book a rental, we'll just say book rentals. So most people leave it like this because there's a lot of different types of reservations, like there's classes, there's trainings, there's camps, there's, maybe you bring someone in to speak to people. There's a whole bunch of different variations of types of bookings you can enter in there. However, if you're a facility that maybe only does trainings, changes to training, and then plural for trainings down here, and you can modify the custom text down here as well. All right, so you have that there. So feel free to modify that if you think your clients will better understand something else, fill that in. Then down here, your terms and conditions. So every time a client pays for something on self-service, whether it's a rental or a package or a membership, or even a registration for a group, whatever the case might be, enter into terms and conditions here. Just make sure that's in there. We want to make sure the clients see that every time they pay. All right. And then down here, self-service Google Analytics. This is a service provided by Google themselves. Basically what it would do, it's a service where they send you daily updates and reports on the activity on your self-service site, letting you know about who looked at a membership today, who bought a package today, who made a booking today. It gives you an idea of what's mostly being done on your self-service site, giving you an idea of maybe what you should mostly market there for your clients to see. If you would like to learn more about that, we give you the link to their instructions on how you would go about signing up for that and setting that up. Over here, we also give you the link to Google support team so you can access them for any questions you may have as well. All right, so this is the design section. Beyond design, we've had a few webinars on this. We have the video library here once again. The great thing about this, you enter in a title, you put in the link, whether it's a URL or HTML, either one is fine. After that, you hit the drop down here. When you enter in a video, let's say it's for personal training, you can go here and hit personal training. That way, every single time you now put a personal training session on the calendar, the clients can see that and they can access that video from that booking as well. Otherwise, if you don't choose anything here, you just leave it NA, then it will be appearing in the video library list. As you see, we have a few in here, so you have plenty of room to work with. Feel free to go ahead and utilize this. I know a lot of you are using this to keep in touch and communicate with your clients so they can still access the activities you would normally hold at the facility. So definitely feel free to go through this and modify it at any time. All right. And then if we go to administration here, back down here in the bottom left, we also have the one of the other new features we introduced here recently is the Zoom integration. So we'll go up to Zoom here. All right. Now, main thing with Zoom, before you even get to this point, go create a Zoom account. You have to have a Zoom account. You must be marked on the Zoom account as an admin to be officially able to use this and host these Zoom meetings on the calendar. But once you sign up for Zoom, you will go in here, you'll click on something that says authenticate. When you click on that, it'll ask you to log into your Zoom account. It'll ask you to go through maybe a few other steps depending on what type of account you have. But at that point, you'll go through those steps, it will bump you back here, and you'll be shown this screen. Now the status here, as long as this says re-authenticate, doesn't say authenticate, then you're fine because you don't have to redo anything in the system. It's just saying you now have the option to re-authenticate it with maybe a different account, all right? Beyond that, there are a few settings here. You can control how the clients are able to access these Zoom meetings. Now, technically speaking, if your landing page is on the schedule or anything but login, then the clients can access those videos and click on that link to join them at any time there. So if you want to make sure that the clients have to log into self-service in order to access the Zoom meeting, then check off that box here. If you would like to also require that the client books themselves into a session, then check that off there as well. So usually recommend doing that, just helps to incentivize the clients to create an account so you have their information. And then of course, make sure they buy a package plan and book in to the session from there. Right. From that point, make sure you save the Zoom settings. You can of course uninstall this and reinstall it at any time if you need to maybe do a full refresh or update something on Zoom as well. All right. Okay, so from here, do a quick refresher on Zoom. If we go up to the schedule, right, and let's say go to field 1 today, and I book something, let's say from 3 to 4 o'clock here. So click on 3 o'clock. Right up here in the dropdown, let's say I put a group training here. They're utilizing field 1. As per usual, we have the time going in for an hour. We have our class as and our titles here. So from this point, we already have a Zoom account here. So on the right side, where it says create Zoom meeting, I could check that box off here. So this will now have a Zoom meeting link for a Zoom user. If you have multiple admins here, we have a few because this is a test account for us here at EZ Facility, but you simply hit this drop down, choose who that admin is, who that user will be running that session. If it's just one admin in the system, then no problem, it'll just autofill that for you. But from this point, you can then hit save and finish. So we of course now have this here. Now, if I go ahead and click on this to open it up again, what you'll notice here, on the left here, I have start Zoom meeting, so I can just put that there. I can still change the user, and I could also delete this if maybe for some reason it's being canceled as well. All right, so definitely feel free to go through that. We did have a full webinar call on Zoom and video library, so feel free to please check those out as well. Those will be very informative for you too. All right, but now let's go into self-service. So we'll go to administration. On the left, we'll go to self-service. We'll go up here to self-service preferences. All right, so I'll copy this link here. Now, most of you may put this on your website, or maybe you send it out in an email blast to your clients. For now, I will paste and go. Now, once again, our landing page is the schedule, hence why we are brought here first. So we see we have a bunch of classes on here. We have yoga, we have group training, we have yoga live stream. I know some of you may want to title it as that as well. So if I jump in here, I see on the left, I have all these features and settings I can go into. So if I want to book myself for a yoga class, right, I will click on yoga here, right? Now here we're seeing a few things, right? Pretty much what you would normally see on the schedule back here in your admin side, but stripped down a bit so they're not seeing all the fine details, right? But they simply see here, they see the day and time, they see how many spots are left, they have the ability to watch the videos you put in for yoga. So I have that there. But from here, I can click on book, but oh, I have either not logged in yet or I have not registered yet. So if I'm already a user here, I can go ahead and log in, which I'll do here. All right, so I log in and now I'm shown a slightly different page, right? So on here, I can either go down here, choose a package I have. Now in this case, I do have a yoga package with 4 sessions remaining. So I could simply go down here. I could simply go down here and click on book. When I do that, it says client has been booked into this reservation with this status of scheduled. So I hover over this. I now see there are now 8 spots left instead. On the left side, if I go to my schedule, this is, as it implies here, just simply my schedule, right? My client's schedule, not the entire facility schedule. So have that there, just simply shows the client what they have booked for themselves. All right, so that's how the booking should be done. That is also the idea, essentially, of how they'll book themselves into those sessions. Now, additionally, if I click on, let's say click on group training here, right? This one says call for more information, right? Well, why is that? Well, right now it's 1:41. We have group training here. We set that up beforehand that we need 48 hours notice. So that is just a bit too late on that. But like I said before, client can now go to the front desk and they can book themselves there, right? Now this yoga one, we have set up specifically where they can book into it right away. That's just a specific setting we have on there for that class, right? So I click back in here, I see I'm scheduled. Now if I go to my schedule and I click on this, and if I was allowing myself to cancel this, I could just hit cancel there. The client's then taken out, and then the next person on the wait list could book in. That's how the wait list would operate. They have to go here, cancel it, or they could even cancel it with you at the front desk, meaning they're being completely taken out of the session, and then the next person could be booked in. That's how that would work there. Additionally, in here, on the top left is a client profile. So we have this here. The client can access their profile picture. They can access their member ID, which some of you may know the member ID is what's used for the barcode on the key tag, or if some of you have the MemberMe app, you've seen it used there as well. We also have the basic information. We have the content information they can modify on the right side here at any time. All right. They can also go to relationships here. This I usually see is especially helpful for parents. A parent maybe creates an account here. Maybe I'm the father of my son here, let's say. I can then go here to add relationship, hit this drop down. I could say that I want to add a child. I hit next here. If I type in, let's say John Doe, for example, right? John Doe appears to be in the system, so that's great. I can tag him up here. I hit next, and then I hit submit. So that's how, and it doesn't have to be a child, of course. It could be siblings, it could be a coach of, it could be player of, grandchild, whatever the case might be. There are a few options there. The benefit of setting up the relationship here is, like I said, a parent signs up, they could then go to a booking, and in the dropdown, they could then, instead of putting themselves into the booking, they could choose, let's say, the son or the daughter or whoever it is, and book them instead. This way, especially if like a parent or a guardian that maybe has 3 kids, there's not 3 individual accounts for self-service. The parent or guardian has 1 account, and they can control all of their children's bookings from this one screen, from this one portal. So you have options for relationships there. And then also over here is the payment info. They can enter this all in here. They can access their invoices on the left there. If they have any open invoices, great thing about this, they'll see them here. They can pay them off. They don't have to go to you or be able to print them out, go to you to print them out even. They can see their closed invoices too. When they click on buy, they will be shown packages. They also might see memberships here as well, depending on what you're offering. But mainly any packages you offer, we will simply see in this list here. I could hit buy on the right, and then I can simply book myself into it once I have bought those sessions in here as well. All right, so you have that there. Okay, then on the left, we have rentals. So with the rentals here, for any of you that maybe have multiple locations under one facility name, you may sometimes see this here. So they can go and choose what facility they want. If you have multiple locations, then just call the support team, but you can always modify that for you if you don't want to show it like that as well. For here, though, we'll stick with Empire Sport Fit. We already know who this is for this client that's logged in here, which is me. So I hit next. I can then say, okay, they have a rental type here for a field rental, $125 per hour. I hit next here. We then look at venue, so I can choose either field 1 or field 2. I'll, let's say, go with field 2. And when I hit next here, I'm then brought to the time frame. So in the time frame, the clients are simply developing essentially a window of time so that self-service can show them what's available during those hours and during those days. So let's say I'm looking for something either on a Friday or a Saturday. So in the weekdays here, and the weekends really too, I'll uncheck every day except Friday and Saturday, so I only have those two highlighted. And here, I can maybe say, okay, I want to book this for 2 hours, but I can go up to 4 hours, which we saw earlier before. And then down here, start time, end time. So even though I have 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. here, doesn't mean I'm looking to book something from 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. So I could go in here, I can put this from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. and I'm just looking for a 2-hour window of time between these hours here. That's all this is saying. So when I hit next here, brings us into the results. And now in here, we see all the times listed down, all the possibilities they could choose from. If I, let's say, book this from 5:30 to 7:30, I hit book on the right, it then brings the client to the shopping cart here, the checkout, I should say. They have the timer up there. They'll, of course, enter in their credit card info. Down below, they can see the terms and conditions here, and they see the items there as well. From that point, they would complete the checkout, and then they would have it booked on the calendar. So we're obviously not paying for this here, but if I hit complete checkout here, we also see there's some tax here too, so be careful with that. It'll bring me forward, and it says transaction processed successfully. We didn't make a payment there, so that's why it's giving us the rest of the message there. And we see this open invoice here. But eventually, when they make the booking, they fully pay for it. That'll also be something that they could go to their own schedule for and see what they have booked on here for themselves as well. Right, so that is some of the self-service bookings from there as well. All right, so I see there's a lot of questions pouring in, so I want to address some of these questions here. So I know you guys probably have quite a few. So let's jump into these now. Okay, so can a client cancel online automatically and then get reimbursed upon the cancel? Does it then make the session available to public automatically? Okay, so if a client, let me jump out here to the schedule. If a client, is anyone in here? Okay, so if a client's booked into something on the schedule, and we see in here, for example, that John Doe is marked as scheduled, right? If I, let's say, cancel John Doe's booking here, hit the red X, it's going to say, are you sure? You remove him. That will give John Doe the session back so he can now use it for something else. That's no problem. On the other hand, and then of course there's a spot available, but on the other hand here, if let's say I'm in here for yoga right now, if I go in here, mark myself as attended, and then I go remove myself from here, so I'm going to ask you the same question, but since they're attended, that means the session was already taken from their package. If I remove them from here, they're not getting that back. So be careful with that. If you want to make sure they can get the session back, make sure you put it back to scheduled. So the session is suddenly put back onto the package plan, and then they get the session back automatically. And then, which technically speaking, they would get reimbursed since they already paid for it, but they're now not using that particular session in the system. All right. When canceling a Zoom meeting, will it automatically send a notification to anyone who was reserved for that class? Okay, that is a great question. I believe it does, but
hey, Mike, can you hear me? Mike, are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. They will. Hi, this is Greg.
Sorry.
They will get an email if the class is deleted.
Gotcha.
So anyone who is booked into the reservation will get an email anytime the reservation has changed, been deleted, or if they are added to a reservation and a Zoom meeting gets created after the fact, they will also get an email letting them know that a Zoom meeting has been created.
All right, fantastic. Thank you there, Greg. All right. Okay, and then what if the person is not in the system? For example, they want to bring a guest. Okay, so if you're referring to self-service, then like Mike Metzger, I signed up as a client. I want to bring my brother John Doe as a guest. Um, it's really more, I see a lot of times left to the facility. A lot of people will say put them in as a relationship, and then when I see them in here, I'll give them some sort of a guest pass. If you have a guest pass put in as an item or a membership, you can do that there. But the bottom line there, even with a guest, if somebody wants to book into a class or access some sort of service you have at the facility, they need to be in there as a client. How you title them, if you put them in a guest category, maybe that's up to you, but they must be in the system as a client. All right. Okay, then also see here, can PayPal be added to payment options? So Easy Facility does not integrate with PayPal. If you go with something like PayPal, that's fine. You can mark it as an external transaction. Just telling the system it was in that this transaction took place, but it did not go directly through Easy Facility. Easy Facility, we only work with direct merchant processors such as OpenEdge or CSI. Beyond that, if you're maybe with a bank or another merchant we don't integrate with, we have a number of gateways that we can send to you as well. If you want to learn more about those gateways, you can go to our support center. If you type in the search field gateways, the first article that pops up will give you an idea and will tell you what you would need to utilize a gateway as well. I'll maybe put that link in here in a little bit. Okay, then I also see down here, how do I set up to book memberships online? Okay, so in order to make a membership available to be purchased online, there's two things you need to be aware of. So I'll go to administration here. Over on the left side, I go to memberships, and I go to membership plans, right? So in here right now, we have 4 memberships, for example. And as you build up the membership here, you put in all the information, know how much they're paying, how long it runs for. On the bottom left, though, it says sell online. Simply take this, put it to yes so they can book in. If you need to modify an existing membership, simply go to a membership down here, hit the edit pencil, all right, and then just change that over to yes instead. All right. Now, the other thing to be aware of with that, all right, is if you have not signed up with a merchant processor, in order, like, for example, what we just discussed here, if you are not able to take credit card payments directly through the system, then not only will your memberships not appear on self-service, but the package plans will not appear on there as well. The only way a client could pay for something through self-service is with a credit card. You can absolutely set things to partial payments, so maybe they can access the package or the rental through self-service, then pay for it when they get to the front desk. But if you want them to pay as they book through self-service, you must have a credit card processor. Like I said, go to our support center. We have articles on that there. You can also feel free to call your account manager or call the support team. We could recommend certain merchants or gateways based on your current situation as well. All right, so you would have that there. All right, and make sure to miss any questions here so far. Okay. All right. So Greg, I have those slides up here. So what we'll do now, guys, I'm gonna send this over to Greg. He's gonna go over some of the new features we have coming up here. And then after that, we'll certainly go through some more questions if you guys have some more here as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. So my name is Greg Barra. I am the Customer Experience Manager here at Easy Facility. We wanted to show you our next feature that we are going to be rolling out here in the next few weeks. So Mike already touched on the video library and the Zoom integration, which were 2 of the things that we have implemented to try to allow you to stay in connection with your clients during this crazy, crazy time. And so as we start to get back into the swing of things and things start to reopen, the next thing that we're working on is a checkout functionality. And that's really just going to be added to the current check-in functionality. And that's going to allow you to specifically see who is in your facility at a given time so that you can cap the number of clients that are coming in so everyone can stay socially distant and adhere to any sort of health guidelines that your state may have. So while we're going through this, any feedback that you have, definitely let us know. And if you think about any feedback after our call, definitely let me know. We want to hear all of it, and the feedback can go to feedback@ezfacility.com. So I'll mention that again after we go through this. But what you'll see here is that we have a checkout option that can be turned on. Now, again, this is going to be in addition to the check-in functionality. So if you choose that you don't want to use this at all, you don't have to. But if you want to be able to see how many people are in your location, you would use checkout. So you go ahead and click on that off button there, which would turn it on. And please be mindful of this grid. This is just a prototype. This is not how the grid is going to look. This is just to give you an idea of some of the functionality that we're going to have here. So the main idea and the concept that we're introducing is a main check-in station and a secondary check-in station. So the thought process behind the main check-in station is that you can specify this as a place where people are coming in and out of your facility. So a main check-in station could be the front door, it could be the front desk, it could be the side door, back door, wherever anyone is walking into the facility. And that is going to impact the maximum capacity that you see there. It says Bethpage max capacity 250. That's going to impact your total facility capacity. So if anyone checks into any of the main stations, the capacity is going to be impacted here from the Bethpage main capacity level. Now, the other check-in stations are going to be secondary check-in stations, where once you're in the facility, you could potentially have a capacity for an area within your location. So let's say you have a studio or a fitness center or something like that. You want to make sure that there's only 10 people, 20 people, however many in that one physical location. You can set that. And so there's going to be this concept of a main check-in station where you have a total people who can be in the entire building, and then secondary check-in stations that clients can check in and check out of while being still checked into the whole location. So that's generally the concept that we're introducing here. And what you'll see in the settings at the top there are some of the items that we're looking to add, which is an automatic checkout at location close time. So you'll see that that setting is selected. And what that means is, let's say someone walks out of the location, they're gone for the day, they forget to check out. When this setting is selected, it is going to automatically check out those clients at your designated location's close time in Easy Facility. So they'll automatically be checked out at that point. If it's unselected, the client will have 24 hours. And at the 24-hour mark of their initial check-in, they'll be checked out in the system. The next setting is to allow check-ins when the location has reached maximum capacity. So when this is selected, this is going to allow your clients to continue to check in even if you hit that 250 of the Bethpage max capacity. So that's just something where you can override that capacity setting. You're aware that you're over 250, but you still want to let people in, but you are aware of it. Again, if that's unselected, then when you hit that 250 mark, the next person who tries to check in, it's going to say denied because the capacity is full. And then the other setting there is for your secondary stations. Same idea, just gives you more control as to whether or not you want to determine whether a specific secondary station can go over capacity or cannot. So that's the settings that we are going to try to introduce. And then Mike, if you want to go ahead and click on the other tab. So while I was going through that, you're probably asking yourself, like, how do I keep track of that? So we are coming up with this dashboard view here, which is going to allow you to see very clearly what your capacity is and your secondary station's capacity as well. So on the left-hand side there, you're going to see Bethpage, which is your location capacity, and it very clearly shows you that there is 30 people in the facility. And in this case, just again, this is just an example. There's 10 spots left. As you can see, it says 10 available under the active. And then to the right of that, you have your individual secondary stations where you can see very specifically what their capacity is at. And you'll see in the Studio One, the capacity is 6, but we have 8 people there, so you can see that it's a -2. So again, just gives you that information there. And while I'm talking about main stations and secondary stations, you will always have a main station if you want to use the checkout functionality. That's something that you'll need to have, but you don't necessarily need to have secondary stations. It's just another way for you to keep tabs on where people are in your facility. If you see at the top of the page there, you have the ability to sort by station. So it says all stations in that drop down. That drop down would allow you to say, Studio One or Fitness Center or whatever the case may be there. And then we have the date range. So you'll be able to see yesterday's numbers as well as how many times you've hit capacity. You'll be able to see the last 7 days, the last month, and a custom date range. So again, that's going to show you specifically how many people have checked into each of these locations or substations over that time frame. So to the right of that, you have the ability to download information. So if you wanted to download today's information or yesterday's information, you could do that. And then to the right, you have the list view and the gauge view. So what we're looking at right now is the gauge view. And if you click on the bulleted list to the right of that, it's going to show you a list view. Same information, shown in a different way, so whatever you prefer. To the right of the bulleted list, you're going to see that what looks to be like a refresh button. That's exactly what it is. So this page here isn't going to update in real time. There is going to be an automatic refresh that will happen that the database will take care of at a specific amount of time. But if you want to see it at a specific time, you can hit that refresh button, and that's going to show you the up to the second information at that point. If we scroll down just a bit, we then get the grid view here. So you'll see at the top that we have a search bar where you're going to be able to search for an individual client if you wanted to. And then we have the actual information. So the members' information, where they checked in from, the secondary station, their duration, the time that they've been there. And then at the right, you have the ability to check them out if you know, Bob Smith here just walked out the front door and he didn't check out, but you just saw him leave. You can click check out, and that's going to check him out of the main station and the secondary station automatically as well. So this is also good, not only for just to see how many people are in your facility, but potentially for contact tracing. So should someone, hopefully does not get sick, but if they were to get sick, you could then say, okay, these are the people who were in the facility at the time. We can contact them to let them know that something's happened, or even into the studio or the secondary stations, you can really drill down into that information. So we're trying to develop this and get this out into your hands as quickly as possible. So if you have any feedback or thoughts on this, either type it into the questions box now, or again, you can always reach out to me with your feedback. So feedback@easyfacility.com, or my email directly is G as in Greg, BARRA@easyfacility.com. Again, I'd love to hear any feedback that you have regarding this. Mike?
All right. Yeah, thank you for that so much, Greg. Yeah, we're really excited for that to get that up and running. I also just put the feedback email in the questions section, so if anyone needs to access that, you do have that there. All right. All right, so we do have another question here on Zoom, it looks like. So I've been conducting Zoom meetings and a lot of members are having trouble accessing. Is there a streamlined way to make sure they can access? And also, is the notification for a Zoom meeting a designated time before the meeting starts with Zoom link? So, okay, yeah, I mean, basically how they access the Zoom meeting is just going to the link in that session on self-service. That's the idea there. And then,
So, Mike, if you don't mind,
yep.
I just for that question,
Mm-hmm.
if someone is having issues loading the meeting, definitely let our support team know with as much specific information as you have it. And what I mean by that is, are they getting an error message? Are they getting to self-service and the launch button isn't working? Things like that, because everyone should be able to launch the Zoom meeting. I will say that the launch session button will not appear until 10 minutes before the reservation begins, but the button should also be there for the duration of the reservation. So please let our support team know as much information as possible, and we'll definitely look into it.
All right. Yep, absolutely. We always appreciate hearing from you guys. Let us know. All right, and just making sure. All right. All right. So I don't know if anybody has any more questions. You can feel free to put them in right now. We'll keep this up for about another minute. But this was really the self-service webinar series. We'll be doing more stuff like this down the road. We try to put up those links as soon as we can when we know what we're going to be covering. So definitely, please just keep checking your accounts. Please keep checking the TMS where you go to log in, that banner there. Always putting links in there and always putting as many updates as we can. So guys, as per usual, any questions, always feel free to reach out to us. We are always sure to help. We hope you all stay well, stay safe, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.